Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me today for our social media do's and don'ts for the Jobs Go Public. My name is Amy Andrews. I'm our Head of Resourcing Solutions here at Jobs Go Public, and I have spent the last number of years within recruitment trying to help candidates find the best job and the right job for them. So thank you very much for joining me today. This session should be about 30 minutes long. I know it's booked in for an hour, but it should be about 30 minutes. I have also got a Q&A box there for you. So if you do have any questions at the end, please pop them in the box and we'll spend some time this after we've gone through the presentation answering some of your questions. If it is the case that there is lots of questions, because sometimes we will get many, sometimes we don't get so many, but I will try and get back to you with some answers if we haven't got time to run through all of the questions. But hopefully some of the questions that you will have may be ran in today's presentation. So thanks again for joining us. So the aims of the session today is to talk about how to present yourself professionally on social media, what to avoid posting on social media, and how to clean up your profiles. You may have old Facebook accounts, MySpace, it could be lots of different profiles that you have, things like LinkedIn, how to clean them up and deal with abandoned profiles, how to build a personal brand, and also some top tips that I would suggest using if you are looking for work within any organisation to do it for. And before we run that presentation, I am just going to pop a little quick poll into the session for you to answer. Bear with me one moment. It would be a really good idea, a really good understanding for myself to find out if you do have a social media profile for work. So if you have a profile, for example, LinkedIn, do you have a profile? It'd be really good if you can answer that question for me, just to give me an understanding of what sort of experiences across the post. Give that a couple more seconds. Perfect. Okay. So the majority of you do have a social media for work profile page, which is fantastic. Obviously, hopefully today you're going to get some tips on how to improve that profile. Bear with me one more second. Let me just close that down. Okay, so let's get into the crux of it. So how to promote yourself on social media. Now, as many organizations do, within many organizations, they do look at your profiles within social media, especially if you're in the marketing space, the sales space. It could be anything that you work within. It's really important that you do promote yourself well on social media across various different platforms, whether it be LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, because some organizations within their compliance processes do look through social media pages as part of their onboarding process. So it's really important that if you do have an old profile that you haven't used, that you do look through that and make sure it's updated. So audit your existing profile, look at what you've got. Do you still use your old LinkedIn page? Have you got more than one LinkedIn page? It's many times when people, I'm looking to connect with candidates or clients, it's quite evident that a number of candidates and clients have multiple pages, so multiple of the same profile. So do audit your profile and make sure that you do close down any old profiles that you don't use. Use a professional picture. So it's really important that you have a good picture of your profile. I would say that if you are going to have a LinkedIn picture, that you have the right picture. So make sure it's picture recent. Make sure that your face maybe takes about 60% of the picture. Don't do a long distance shot. Don't have more than one person in that profile. It's all about you. It's your account. It's your profile. So it's really important that you, if you're having, for example, a LinkedIn profile, that you do have a really good picture. It doesn't have to be a professional one. It doesn't have to be taken by a professional photographer. It can be taken by a colleague, a friend, a family member, but just make sure that it is a professional picture and that you are dressed appropriately. So not of you drinking a cocktail on the beach. It needs to be professional. It needs to be how you'd stand out at work. And create a professional bio. And what we mean by a bio, a bit about you, who you are, what your values are, what you do as a business. So I'm a recruiter. I'm originally from the Northeast. My profile tells clients and candidates a little bit who I am, where I'm come from, what I want to do within my career, and it provides information about you. It doesn't have to be that you enjoy something that's not relevant to what your career is. It can be something about you that gives a little bit of an understanding of who you are as a person. And also it's about turning your summary into a story about you and how you are, and try and invest some time into that profile. You want to make it current, you want to make it updated. And obviously, if you've had an old profile from maybe a couple of years ago, it's really important that you do have a think about updating it. Don't be afraid to invest in time and try many drafts, and run your summary past people if you're unsure. Your friends, your family, colleagues, more than happy, I'm sure, to look at your profile and make sure that it's actually really important that you've got a good profile and a good bio there. Things like mind your language and tone. It's really important to, things like LinkedIn are a professional, it's a place where people go to look for work, to share knowledge, to share ideas and have conversations. It's really important that you do mind the language and tone of your messages, what you're sharing. Obviously, abusive content is not appropriate for social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any of those things. If you see something that doesn't look right or is not appropriate, then do report that to whatever organization, whether it be my LinkedIn, do report that piece of content. And also things like buzzwords, it can be quite, candidates sometimes quite like to use buzzwords because it's relevant within their organization, their job role. Other organizations may not be familiar with the buzzwords that you use. So try and not use words thinking that you're certain buzzwords that might be relevant, because actually you want to make your profile open for everybody to view, to make sure that they understand what you are all about. And also LinkedIn is a way of showing examples of your qualities, not just the words that you want to use to describe yourself. And sharing relevant content. I'd always suggest looking at the groups that you're involved in on LinkedIn. For example, I'm involved in a couple of women in recruitment groups, because that's relevant to my industry. I follow lots of organisations that I recruit for. I follow organisations, for example, the REC, who was a governing body within within the recruitment space. So it's really important that you are looking and liking the organisations and being part of that content. And also, if you are, for example, a social worker, there'll be lots of different social work groups that you can be involved with, which will share stories, share ideas, and also share things like jobs, and content that's relevant for you, whether it be new legislation, whether it be changes in the law, things like IR35, it could be working time directive, it could be lots of different things. So it's really important that you share relevant content and you're managing those pages. And very much similar to minding language and tone, it's about engaging thoughtfully. Is that relevant to you, to your business, to your profile? If you are, I don't know, there's probably lots of different examples I can give here, but if you are engaging thoughtfully, sharing celebrations, sharing success, it's really important. That's the way to do it, to engage your network and grow your network, is to engage thoughtfully and have you talk to somebody on LinkedIn how you would talk to somebody face to face. So it's really important that you are engaging in useful content. And also limit your personal information. I wouldn't provide information on LinkedIn or social media as to where my son goes to school, where I live, the location of my house, or where I am. So, or the clubs that I'm joined in, or anything like that. So limit personal information. Only share the information that you're comfortable in giving and that's relevant to your career search. And also separate your personal and professional accounts. For example, my social media for pictures I send to friends and family is very separate from my business account, because they're not, it doesn't need to be combined. It doesn't need to be the same industry. My friends and family don't need to know about all of the stuff that I do, work related, and vice versa. So it's really important that you do separate those accounts and have a professional account. If, for example, you are a coach, a careers coach, then what I would do is use LinkedIn, use Facebook, use Twitter, use Instagram for a specific business account. I follow a number of people within who are careers coaches and life coaches, and they have separate purposeful professional accounts that are separate to their personal account. And showcase your achievements. LinkedIn, for example, is a really good place to share achievements of what you've done. Have you recently passed your CIPD? Have you done some training that's really relevant to your skills? Have you just done your A levels? It could be you've just graduated. It could be some training you've taken part in, or something. It's really good to showcase your achievements. I get invited out to lots of organizations to share stories about how to get into recruitment, how to work within certain organizations. I do a lot within education, and I share that on LinkedIn, because it's really important to give people an idea of what my day-to-day is like within a recruitment sense, but also to give showcase some achievements that actually these students have done really well. They've passed these degrees, these passed these areas. So it's really good to showcase your skills and achievements. And also, what I would also say is regularly update your profile. There's nothing worse than having a really old profile that's not relevant to you. It's all about having up-to-date information. Spend some time every couple of months just making sure it's up to date. Have you got all your qualifications in there? Have you posted something? The trick is, for example, with LinkedIn and to grow your social media presence, it's about taking the time to update information, share content that's relevant, be engageful, join groups. These are all top tips to actually have that information in place. And also, for example, LinkedIn, it shows you areas that you're missing. So if you haven't created a bio, it will tell you some information on how to create a bio, and it will tell you how full your profile is, which is a really, really good thing to do. And also things like skills assessment. If you have a LinkedIn account already, there will be lots of information on how to take skills assessments, whether it be Excel for finance, whether it be Word, it could be something relevant to your industry. Take the assessments, because then it will show up on your profile that actually you meet the criteria to pass that area. So main thing to avoid is inappropriate content. You don't want to be sharing things that are inappropriate. It's a professional. If you're looking for this professional or profile or private profile, don't put anything inappropriate within that content. Also, personal drama. People within for example, your workspace don't need to know about personal drama. That's a private thing to you. Things like negative comments. People will report you for having a negative comment within an organization. It can be, if something, for example, you've had a bad experience with a certain company, it can be really easy to think about actually sharing things on social media about organizations. However, like I mentioned earlier on in the presentation, people do look at, within compliance checks, they do look at people's social medias and their social presence. So what you want to try and do is move away from having those negative comments, because actually it can be quite disastrous for your own career if you have that information. Also, inaccurate or false information. I wouldn't put anything on social media within LinkedIn that isn't correct. So if you don't have a degree and you've said that you've got a degree, or you've done some safeguarding training, you haven't, don't provide inaccurate information, because that's obviously false. And also, don't overshare. I wouldn't want to share so much personal information about myself within my LinkedIn profile, for example, because it's not relevant to my career. Again, within social media profiles, I don't overshare information about me that people could get hold of, because obviously it is your information's there out there on the internet. And like I said, irrelevant information, if it's not relevant to maybe your job search or your industry or where you're looking to work, then you don't need to have that information on there as well. And also confidential information. If you're employed within an organization, you will have access to confidential information. A breach of GDPR is a very serious offence. So make sure that any information that you have within your organisation, within any area, whether it be safeguarding or not, do not share confidential information on LinkedIn. And also, like I mentioned before, an unprofessional profile picture. So things like making sure that you're the only person in that picture. I wouldn't necessarily have myself lying on a beach, for example, in my profile picture. So it's really important that you do have a look at those profile pictures that you have. And if you're unsure, then do ask somebody around you, because they will hopefully be able to give you some indication if it's appropriate or not. So how to clean up your profile. So you need to really use your own judgment to decide how often to clean your social media profiles. If you're unsure, then like it mentions here, err on the side of caution and clean up your profiles more often. Now, if you change careers, for example, or you're branching out into a new area, do look at the information that you have on your profile already and make sure it's updated. Things like skills assessments, which I mentioned earlier, manage your endorsements. So if you have worked with a colleague and they can recommend you, then do add that information on there or ask them for a recommendation. You'll find lots of people within LinkedIn, for example, will have recommendations of how they have worked with you. It might have been a past manager, it might have been a colleague, it might have been a client. Somebody who's worked with you in a professional capacity can provide recommendations for you. And that is also a really good way to showcase your skills of how you are in your job, and can give you some really get some people who can give you really enthusiastic endorsements, because actually your skills selection on your profile can show a client or an organization you want to work for that actually you do have the skills, and you're not just saying that you've got really good communication skills. You've actually got somebody on your profile giving you an endorsement for actually having a really good communication skills. So do request recommendations. And if you have got recommendations that are old on there, update them. If you're still working with that client or that organization or that team member, ask them to send you a new updated recommendation, because you have to keep your profile up to date. And take the time to think about who you would ask for a recommendation if they're relevant to your search. For example, it could be, I don't know, if you're just out of school, for example, you could maybe ask one of your past teachers if they'd be happy to do that. It could be your head of year, could be your careers advisor, it could be somebody who you've worked with in the past who's got a profile. So do add that information onto those skills. And also things like showcasing your passion for learning, things like a course that you've completed, share that information if it's updated, because it does, when organizations are searching for candidates, what they will do is they'll put certain criteria into LinkedIn, for example. Lots of recruiters use LinkedIn to recruit, and they'll put certain criteria in. For example, they're looking for somebody who's got, I don't know, a degree in finance for a finance role. It could be the case that you've used a certain system. It could be the case that you have used certain document. It could be HubSpot. It could be you've used Salesforce, or something that's relevant. So do share and have that on your profile, so that when people are searching for you, it means that you'll come further up the list within a search criteria, and then it's you're more likely that recruiters or managers can approach you on LinkedIn for a role. And things like, if you're in any groups that are inactive or not relevant, again, remove old connections and relevant groups, because it's all about you. It's all about a present you, and having some engagement thoughtfully within your skills and experience. And also share relevant content from your LinkedIn feed. If your LinkedIn feed has got past irrelevant information, then remove it and start creating and sharing other areas. And things like updating your experience section. Go through your career history and put information about what you've done and provide examples of what you've done. I've talked in previous webinars about interview techniques and using the STAR technique for answering interview questions. Use that. So what's the situation? What was the task? What was the outcome, and what was the result? So do use that technique as well. And highlight your skills and achievements and get involved. LinkedIn is, majority of the time, a really friendly place for people to engage thoughtfully, share your knowledge, your experience, connect with people who are relevant to your organization, and not all your organization, but also for yourself. Make sure that your profile really does sell who you are as a person, because if you're using LinkedIn for job searching, it's one of the best ways for organizations to look and find you. Again, with your profiles, anything that could be construed as not appropriate, then delete, remove, and make sure that your profile is clean and up to date, to make sure that your profile sticks out. And I would recommend doing that within Facebook, LinkedIn, any of the other social media apps that you have, because you want to make sure that you stand out for the right reasons and not the wrong reasons. So how to build your personal brand. So building personal brand is a great way to increase your chances of being successful as a job seeker. So like I mentioned before, check recommendations, reach out to people who will be happy to give a recommendation. Obviously, you don't want to use someone who might give you a bad recommendation. So you want to make sure that you're using the right people, whether it be colleagues, people you've worked for, people you've worked with, to give a recommendation. Update your contact information. So if there's a way to get hold of you, for example, you have your own business and you want to make sure your contact details are up to date, make sure that they're on there. Proofread, make sure that you've written things correctly. If you've got any spelling mistakes in there, if you're unsure, then please do reach out to somebody and ask for some help and support. And things like network and build relationships. So a lot of the time when I'm meeting candidates, clients, people within the education setting that I do work with, then I do connect with people on LinkedIn. Don't be afraid to connect. Just send a little message saying, hi, lovely to meet you, let's connect. Or you're building your profile and you want to connect with people. It's a great way for people to actually accept your request to be on LinkedIn, to be a connection request, by putting a little message in there to say the reason why that you wanted to connect. It could be the case you've seen someone doing a speech within a conference you've been to, or something like that. Reach out to them, say, lovely to hear you speak, I'd like to connect, because they will also want to build their connections as well. And create content and share information. So be a creator on LinkedIn. So share things about your career aspirations. You can turn things on like creator mode on your profile settings on LinkedIn, which allows you to create content and grow your audience. So create that on. Make sure that you're putting some information on. Then you can write whatever you want to talk about. It's a good starting point for people who want to build their profile. And also follow relevant influencers within your industry. Is there people who are known for sharing aspirations within the public sector, for example? Is it like the leaders of the council? Is it people who have done something really good thing within adult and social care or children's services? Follow people who are inspirational to you, and actually that means you can share, you can have conversations with those people. And like I said before, we're all learning. If I do anything learning new and I do a course or a mini something, then I'll always add that to my LinkedIn profile, because I'm always continually learning. There's new ways of recruitment and AI that I am learning every day. So it's really important that you do have that continuous learning aspect and share all the good stuff of doing things for yourself, because obviously if you're building a LinkedIn profile, it's going to be there for your own personal brand, and people want to be able to reach out to you and also have those open conversations to start talking about things that you have your values in. And some final top tips for me before I start getting into some questions. So use relevant keywords. So if, for example, my keywords are all about recruitment, public sector recruitment, talent acquisition, use hashtags and keywords that are relevant to your industry. Share valuable content. If you see something that resonated with you, share it, pass it on to somebody else who may be within your connection group, who it can be a starting point. It could be the case that you've seen something that someone's written and it resonates with you. You can always put a little comment on underneath saying that resonated with me. That's a really good top tip, or something, because actually gets your profile out there. And engage in conversations. Don't be scared to put a comment on there. What you don't want to try and do is put comments that are distasteful in any way. If you don't agree with that point, then you've obviously they've got their perception and you've got your perception as well. Engage in conversations, but obviously don't be rude and don't use harsh language. And network actively. So make sure that you are reaching out connections. If someone connects with you, then obviously send them a little message back saying thanks for connecting, lovely to meet you, or let's catch up. Attend events. There's lots of virtual events on social media, whether it be job fairs or events happening within your area. Attend events, meet people, get out there, and also share milestones. Make sure that you are sharing successes. If you have got a new job, share it on LinkedIn. I love seeing the posts where people have gotten a new job and they're moving on and they're doing something extra. And if I've know that person, or if I don't know that person, I'll always send them a little wish and say congratulations, best of luck, you'll be fab, because it's all about creating a safe network, and consistency is key. To build your profile on LinkedIn, for example, or any social media, you've got to be out there. You've got to have consistency. Don't go mad within the first 3 weeks of doing something, posting something every day, and then you don't do anything for 6 months. It's really important that you are consistent within your messages, because it's a long form of content within your career. And if you're starting out, you might not have lots of things to post on your LinkedIn page, but being involved and getting involved in certain events and things can share your profile. And also you use it to share and start conversations with people. There's lots of people that I've reached out to over the last couple of years who I've worked with in the past, and we've had conversations about what people are doing now and sharing relevant information, and they've introduced me to lots of different people. So it's really important that you do use it for good. Another couple of things is to make sure that you look at things like publications that are relevant. If there's anything that you need to have removed within your LinkedIn profile, do remove it. Like I say, organizations do look at profiles. And I've heard many a story where things have cropped up from previous posts from accounts that are no longer active, that can be detrimental to someone's career. So it's really, really important that you do look through and make sure that your application and your things are up to date. Like I said, take skills assessments, engage thoughtfully, spotlight the services that you offer. If you are setting up your careers page or your personal business page, then make sure that you're spotlighting your services and what you offer and what you can give, and list your relevant skills to turn your story into really good aspirations there. I do have a couple of questions in here. Yes, there is going to be an access to the audio and PowerPoint available to everybody at the end of the session. If anybody does have any particular questions that they want to ask within the session, then please ask them now. The thing with any social media, it's about keeping it updated, and don't have more than one profile if you can help it. So if you have a business account, keep it separate from your personal account, but make sure that everything is relevant to yourself. If you do have any questions that you want to ask, I'm here to answer some questions. Like I said, it's normally get lots of little questions or not a lot, but the audio and the PowerPoint presentation will be available for everybody after the session. If anybody has any questions or wants to come back to me separately, then drop me a line. My contact details are available on LinkedIn. My name's Amy Andrews, like I said before, so feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to always have a new connection and a new friend within the LinkedIn community. But yeah, if anybody doesn't have any questions, then I will let you all go. But thank you very much for taking part. I hope some of the information to you was relevant and that it was news to you or shown with some skills. But if anybody does want to reach out to me, please feel free to, and I'm happy to help or give some advice. But thank you so much for attending the session. It's been great to have you on board, and very best of luck in your job searching.